Welcome, everyone, to the first We Are Memphis Music virtual Women's Music Month event in partnership with the Stax Museum of American Soul Music. I'm Elizabeth K. Wine, and I'm excited to be handing it over here in a second to the fantastically multi-talented Tonya Dyson, who's going to be in conversation tonight with the legendary Joyce Cobb. This is the first event of several we're going to do this month, so stay tuned to We Are Memphis Music on Instagram and the We Are Memphis Facebook page for more information, and join us Wednesday nights in March for more of these conversations. I am now going to hand it over to Tonya. Tonya, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for, of course, having me. I'm really excited about doing this tonight and talking to Miss Joyce.
Yeah, so I'm gonna pop Joyce in the stream, and I'm gonna let you get right to it.
Hey, Miss Joyce, how are you?
Hello. How are you?
Doing wonderful. Doing wonderful. So again, thank you for agreeing to do this and chiming in and just talking to us a little bit tonight about you, of course, and all of your magnificence and just all of the great things that you've done for Memphis music. So I wanted to start out a little bit by just kind of just talking about your background. What brought you to Memphis, and like when did you come to Memphis, and what brought you to Memphis initially?
I was pretty considered a local yokel in Nashville. I had opened Opryland. We had started Opryland in 1972, uh, and uh, that's when the music career really started. I was quite visible in Nashville with WSM. They had two shows: the Waking Crew show with Ralph Emery, and they also had the noon show with Teddy Bart. And I was a rotating vocalist at that time where they had live bands. And I also worked a lot of clubs. I integrated a lot of clubs in Green Hills and downtown, Bavarian Village and a place called Bachelor Two. So had been doing some demo work, and I had some country western demos. And the producer of the demos, Earl Richards, for some way, it got to Jim Stewart Stax, and Stax, 1975. Jim Stewart was going to open a label for country and western, and
Mm.
he heard demos, and he said Stax would like to sign me as a country and western artist. With I think O.B. McClinton was also signed to uh, to start a subsidiary label of country western. He was way ahead. Jim Stewart was way ahead because now it's sort of happening in Nashville with the country and African American. But at that time, it was quite different. And so I came to Memphis to check it out, and the contract was signed, but the following year, or less than 12 months, the studio, of course, Stax folded, 1976.
Right.
So there I was in Memphis with a promise of a recording deal in a locked down record company.
Mm.
It had literally locks on the door. So that's how I ended up in Memphis. And I knew a guy here that was working with the Holiday Inns. And I decided to maybe kind of hang around because I was becoming so impressed with the rhythm and blues scene in Memphis. We have 64% African American in Memphis.
Right.
Asheville is about 20% or less. in spite of the colleges and universities.
Right.
Oh, what I saw, I was impressed. I was totally, it was totally something that new for me to see the Bar-Kays with a python singing "Your Love Is Like the Holy Ghost,"
Right.
and then the integrated element where you had the Brenda Patterson and Coon Elder and the kind of music they were playing. It wasn't really country, and I was familiar with the country in Nashville.
Right.
It was it was more Americana, Americana,
Yeah.
and I fell in love with also the nightlife of Memphis at that
Mm,
time. Ma Pa clubs. It was before the open drink law, so you had to bring in your own bottle. You set it on the table, and you buy setups. In those places where there were all venues, I that's where I heard all the blues and the jazz.
wow.
I fell in
Okay.
love with my genre, jazz. I saw Honeymoon Gardner and Fred Ford, Herman Green. They were all playing in these places that didn't close till 6 in the morning.
Right.
When- so, so I was just like, oh, I have got to move to Memphis. I and and I had knowledge of jazz tunes. I was kind of unique. There weren't very many females that were out in Memphis, in the clubs, singing jazz, serious jazz like Thelonious Monk, Miles Davis, uh, Lambert Hendricks and Ross, and I had all of that knowledge. That's what got
Right.
me over in Nashville was the knowledge of the American pop book, Gershwin, Cole Porter, Jerome Kern. I had all of that under me. So I was able to be accepted in these clubs. I think the first club was Bill's Twilight on North
Wow.
Parkway. And that was my first club and then being that I'm able to be flexible in every genre of music, I eventually realized that Memphis was nurturing jazz, but not necessarily selling it.
Right.
And I had to pretty much go into different other genres of country and western, which I knew, and popular music, which I knew also, grew up with. And that's pretty much how I decided to come to Memphis. And what made me stay was Shoe Productions.
Mm,
I was playing some weekends at the Holiday Inn on McLean and on Union, and it was quite popular. It had the entourage of Elvis family coming in and out. Rufus Thomas, I met there. Honeymoon Gardner was coming in and out of that place, and they heard me singing with a guy that played organ. So it was me and the organ and the disco ball in the lounge, and that's where I really became noticed. Representative Wayne Crook from Shoe Productions came by and heard me sing and said, you need to take your guitar down off the wall and start writing songs, which
yes.
I really didn't do. I made my living in Nashville doing cover tunes, cover tunes. So I took the guitar, started writing, and I became part of the family at Shoe Productions. And
Yes.
from there, I wrote a song that went, 11 on Billboard, and from that's when it all started spinning. So I decided to stay in Memphis and try to make it in the music business in Memphis. That's
So,
it.
with the music business in Memphis, you and I have had, several discussions about the importance of songwriting. And looking at, I guess, a comparison, a generational comparison of, song like the songwriting from the 60s, 70s, about love and different things like that. And then, of course, today, a lot of the topics are a lot different. Tell me about songwriting then, and the processes of songwriting, and how important it was in the early start of your career.
Well, songwriting was and still is sort of an impatient process for me. The melody, even the hook, the repetitive line with the melody and rhythm comes quick. However, the lyric, the meat of the song, what is it about? Uh, I lack patience and still do. On quick, within a week at least.
Right.
Uh, I become very impatient with it, and I'll end up just putting it together just to record something. But songwriting was very different for me because, like I said, I made the major all of my jobs in Nashville were over the cover tunes from Dolly Parton to Jerome Kern. I mean, I knew all of that in between,
Right.
and it's good to know that book of American composers because it enabled me to work with the Nashville Symphony. It enabled me to work with the Memphis Symphony. It enabled me to get a lot of jobs in country clubs
Yeah.
and private homes and concerts. The knowledge of the American pop book, the composer book of George Gershwin and Duke Ellington. I would suggest that every young person that's pursuing a career in music learn that book or learn some things in the book. Lady Gaga knows the book.
Yeah.
Beyonce knows. You know, that's something that they don't talk to you about, but it helps.
Right.
So that but for writing, I was just writing AABA, and with the hook, and we did it quick. And I was at Shoe Productions writing songs, recording. At that time, there were 45 releases, little 45 vinyl, and I wrote at least about 6 or 7 songs over at Shoe. One of one or two of which made Billboard. And so I decided that perhaps this is where I need to be. And of course, I would get work. Always, I had work in Memphis, from the Peabody Hotel, the summer festivals, and the list goes on. A lot of places. I've played everywhere on Beale Street and everywhere on 21st, not 21st, Madison Avenue,
Right.
Overton. And the reason that I really think that I could keep work is because I knew the Stax books, the Sun, the Country and Western book, and the American Pop book, and I was like a master of cover tunes, so I pretty much maintained a lot of work in Memphis because of my knowledge and musicians that are willing and able to play all the genres of
Right.
the book. And so that's why I stayed. But basically, I stayed to songwrite. I was very fortunate to have a production company like Shoe
Yeah.
that in and tolerated me writing and learning on the while I'm learning, um, and they would actually process it out into the market. Um, Shu evidently had connection with Cream label. Al Bennett was over the label at the time, and he managed to get a couple of the songs out. Dig the Gold, it was out on number 11, and then I had How Glad I Am, which was a cover from Nancy Wilson that did pretty well also.
Good.
So I just stay here, and I enjoyed the African American culture here, which was not
Right.
really, it didn't really fall in my lap in Nashville.
Mm.
fell in love with the culture and the history of the city. A lot of it was painful, but the city is what it is. And the diversity in white and black musics, I fell in love with also. In
Yeah.
Nashville, it was kind of one way,
Right. Right.
in the business marketing. But in Memphis, it's laid back. You can make mistakes. It's no tension. It's no scheduling. You can just take your time and be creative. So
Right.
that I, the pressure's not on to make it or to win it. But I think everyone respects each other in Memphis
Yeah.
and accepts as they are. You know, no
Right.
pretension
Right.
life
No.
here.
Exactly. So, one of the things that I admire the most about you is your ability to transform yourself into so many different roles and wear so many different hats. And I tell people all the time that you are a huge influence on my life as far as being an artist and then being on the business end of different things, and particularly being such a vocal member of the Memphis music community. Not only did you hold space for yourself as an artist, but of course you represented on different ends. And so being the first um, black woman to have a club on Bill Street, and the Joyce Cobbs. Let's talk about that
Yeah.
and just the I guess the everything behind that and the thought behind you having the idea to open up your own space during a time where you didn't see that a lot, and especially on Bill Street and the significance of that.
Well, it's really a lesson. The things that fall in your lap are easy, are given to you. Beware. But it's like I woke up literally. I woke up one morning and my name was up in lights on a building, uh, and it was Johnny Robertson,
Mm.
who was one of the top at that time. He was one of the top merchants of Beale Street. Um, he was involved with Alfred's
Mm.
and maybe one club, and he had the corner, which was used to be, I think it was called Lafayette's.
Ah.
When fenced it down, it was a small club. But he started knocking out all the walls, and he said, "I want you to." He comes up to me because I had been working so much on Beale Street. Rum Boogie was one, and the basic one was, and we packed it. That was the newness of the new Beale Street, 1975, 76, when the Beale Street was reinvented under the direction of John Elkington,
Yes.
and had a six-piece band at King's Palace, and we packed it every night. And everything was new. The Beale Street was new, and uh, I think it impressed the merchants to where they said, well, if she's packing the King's Palace, maybe she can pack her own club down on Beale. It's all about time. It's all about the timing of your
Right.
career, and you need to just be prepared because it may come quick and it may go quick.
Right.
You know, it's all about how you hit it. So I had in my mind jazz because at King's Palace we were pretty much doing a lot of jazz blues.
Right.
I had Taylor on trumpet and Sonny Williams on sax, and
Mm.
Steve Potts was on drums, J.T. Page on keyboard, and we were doing cover tunes, but they were in the genre of jazz and blues. So people were just like everything that's new, people pack it in.
Right.
So here I am. Robinson comes up to me. He says, "I want you to have a club." Now he had this club that was vacant, so maybe needed to fill it up for a few years or whatever. But I never knew the reason. I never knew the real reasons why he just came to me. I mean, he could have gone to the Barcades. He could, could have gone to the Thomases. Rufus at that time was living, but he came to me, uh, which I considered myself pretty much like an outsider of
Right.
Memphis. I new to me. So there I am. Joyce Cobb's sign is up in the lights on the corner of Mayburn and Bill. And I came in with the jazz concept. As soon as I walked in, I saw Hank Williams Jr.'s picture on the wall. And I said, uh-oh, Hank Williams. So I figured that the powers that be, it's still their club.
Right.
I just represent the entertainment. And that was my job pretty much. I was never invited in the back room at the board meetings or whatever. It was not an investment on my part. It was a given, God given Johnny Robinson gift.
Mm.
And I was able, Alfred's, of course, ran the mechanical, they ran the food and the beverage. All I was running was the entertainment.
Okay.
And we had some magic. We had Winbush talent show, used to pack it to the point where it was almost against the fire code.
Oh.
And we had Keith Sykes Songwriter Showcase, which he brought songwriters from Nashville. And it was quite a great group of songwriters that we were presented on a consistency. These were consistent things. Then the Memphis Jazz Orchestra came one of the night, and we brought in James Williams, we brought in Herb Ellis, we brought in Alan Balter, who played clarinet and would sit in. Jack McDuff played there one night. George Coleman played there. So suddenly I'm told, get rid of the jazz. It's not making it. He said, these jazz people come in, they sit at the table, and they sip two wines all night, and I need shooter crowds. Get them out. Change the
Mm.
music.
Wow.
So here you are, your name's up in lights, and you wanted it to be a real serious jazz club because Memphis is known for jazz. We need a jazz museum in Memphis. Yes,
Right. Exactly.
rock museums, 40,000 blues museums, and no jazz museum. This is the
Yeah.
home of Mulgrew, James Williams, Finest Newborn, Jimmy Lunsford,
Hmm.
Alberta Hunter, D. Bridgewater. Come on, folks. We need a
Yes.
museum. And tourists come to me at any time, and they want to know where's the jazz clubs? Where can we hear some? They come from Europe. They come from Japan. They come from all over. But it's embarrassing to say, well, we don't have it. We don't even have a monument. There should be a Jimmy Lunsford statue.
There
You
should be.
know.
I agree. I agree.
So, and anybody who hears this and is knows how to work it, that's something to consider. And I've been saying this for many years, ever since Harrington was the mayor. I've been screaming this to people, and they all agree, but nothing really seems to happen. I think jazz, uh, smooth jazz in Memphis, is about as serious as it can go. I was recently at a club called Pockets,
Oh yeah.
and they were trying to put the jazz in there, but the only jazz right now that works seemingly in Memphis is not the mainstream jazz, not the Charlie Parker and the Ellis,
Right.
not the old school, but the smooth jazz.
Right.
The smooth jazz. Robert Glasper and what do you call it? Uh, Groups that are of the 2000, you know,
Right. Right. And there's
seemingly has
only
a
an
chance.
acceptance of those groups to an extent, only to an extent. This is still very much a very gospel rooted city. And so the what people in the church would always refer to as oil, It's like this is a yelping, not, a yelping type of city where singing hard, singing, loud and very with boisterously in a sense. And so jazz kind of contrasts or contradicts in a lot of sense in what is traditionally done here in Memphis. And that I call it
Well,
singing soft versus singing hard in a sense.
right. I also here I find it that, and I'm shouting out Steve Lee.
Yes.
Steve Lee is very focused teaching jazz reading and notation and performance. Memphis, as I read the history, has always been known to nurture jazz artists,
Right.
and they stay here to learn, but then they move out and they end
Right.
up, you know, settling in New York. Mogul Miller, they all ended up in New York. There seems to be a connection in jazz, the mainstream jazz market between Memphis and New York,
New York. Yeah.
and they nurture in Memphis, and then they become icons to the world when they move out of Memphis.
Right.
But you would think that Memphis has with its jazz. I mean, I go to Nashville, they have more jazz clubs than Memphis, and it just doesn't make sense. I mean, Memphis is the home of Jimmy Lunsford, right?
Right. The king of swing.
Oh, Charlie. So anyway, the reality of it is that that's when I kicked in the other books. I learned Stax book and the Sun book, and started singing and making. The whole key is to pay your bills. You
Right.
don't want to.
Right.
I had a degree in sociology. I could have been a social worker. I could have gone 3 more years and got a MSW, Memphis. Master's of social work. I was heading toward that, and it didn't. Was not
Right.
happy. The thing that made me
Yeah.
happy was music. So
Right.
make it work. Can you do your music and pay your bills? Also, because I had a college degree, I was able to connect with some of the universities. No, not as a professor, not on a master's level, but as an adjunct
Yes.
at, at Rhodes College and the University of Memphis. But it does provide money for you to pay your bills. So
Right.
what in your pocket you use, what you have for knowledge is very important. And I think it's very important to learn all genres of music today, because I'm seeing emerging. I'm seeing even Nashville and rhythm and blues and hip hop
Hmm.
emerging into the country music, somewhat.
Yeah.
But pop and country is merging, and Americana and country are merging. And I'm looking at Valerie June and how her
Yes.
uniqueness working, uh, and is attractive to the market, and she is being marketed well. So all genres. I don't like the tunnel vision concept.
Yeah.
You should not be locked in blues and just in rhythm and blues,
Right.
unless you can rush and just do the blues, and people will buy tickets. That's the bottom line. He's got
Right.
it going. Got it going on. So if you can't be that unique stylist that attracts the world and you get bites on the internet, up in the millions. If you can't be that, then at least you can be is versatile in all of the genres, so that when people walk in and hear you, you can give them familiar tunes, and
Right.
that's pretty much how I've made a living, is cover tunes still. My writing is just very personal. I emphasize writing to students. It's a must.
Yeah.
Publishing is it. That's where you can get the residuals in the mail, possibly. I did a copy song on a Walt Disney movie. I'll Be Home for Christmas. was
Yes.
on the Ref, REF movie. And I just got a check for 71 cents
Oh
from
wow.
Walt Disney. So,
Wow.
it pays to write, at least. You throw about 20 songs up against the wall, one or two might stick, you never know. Also, it's like publishing is like an investment. When you write a song today, it may be good for your grandkids tomorrow.
Right.
You never know. A commercial, it might hit in a movie score, it might, you know. So,
Right.
that's the direction. I'm more excited about songwriting right now than I am, actually getting out on the road. I've been there, done that.
Right.
I am in my 70s, so the excitement of that is not existing. I really enjoy home and being, secure and just waking up in the morning and writing a song, and
Right.
I have maybe over close to 35 songs,
Okay.
which is not bad.
Yeah.
In
That's really, really good. And so, a little
so
bit earlier, you spoke about versatility, and of course, you were speaking of versatility as an artist, and of course, being well versed in the different genres of music. But I want to, I guess, briefly talk about just your versatility again as a whole human being that was interested and invested in the Memphis music scene. So, of course, singer songwriter. Club, club owner, club name, club named after you. Um, what else? Radio personality. How did you get into radio?
well, it was like I said, it's all about time and space. I was I ran into by accident actually Judy Dorsey, who was executive of WEVL, and back then it was all vinyls, 33
Mm,
and a thirds you would play, and they had a little studio, 10 watts, on the corner of Madison and Paul and Cleveland.
right,
Madison and up, you had to go up 25 stairs to get to it. And we were talking, and she happened to say, "Well, I've got a studio here at WVL, and uh, maybe you would like to try out and see if you would enjoy playing uh, your vinyls." I had quite a collection of vinyl records, and I said, "Yeah, but it's volunteer." I said, "Well, everything is volunteer actually, so why not?" It gives me the experience of radio, and I started with a jazz show. Or no, it wasn't. It was a popular. It was called Voices, I think, was the first. I loved it so much, and I just stayed with it. And as of today, we've gone through the vinyl. Then we had the 6 track. Then we had the cassettes. Then we now we have the CDs. So I have lived through probably 4 decades of technology of radio.
right,
But I just enjoy playing music. It's the same principle as playing live. I enjoy playing music for people who enjoy being there listening. That I think that is my biggest enjoyment, is to give the music to people who want to hear it.
yes,
That can be audio or it can be live. Each way is just fine for me. And of course, WEVL was attractive, even though it was volunteer, because it allows you to play your music, that you want to play,
right,
long as it meets the rules. No profanity on your music, but you can bring your music from home and play it in the studio.
right.
And now, of course, more than 10 watts and streaming, and we're all over. So, you know, sometimes the best things in life are free, and it's just every worth it. I look forward to it every week to
Yes,
bring
yes,
a and I'm still working from the CD aspect.
Okay.
Oh, they'll love. Oh, I'll play that one. Oh, got a Dyson song. I'm gonna play Dyson CD today. That's just and so that's what I enjoy. Really have thoroughly enjoy doing that. And I never was political. I never was ambitious to be something of a guy from L.A. once came. He was one of the members of NARIS, and earlier in my career in Memphis, he says, "Oh, you'll never make L.A. You won't make it in Hollywood, baby." So you have a gap and you're over. And that just kind of struck me like, that can
Wow.
make me just miserable if I take that in and let it
Right.
defeat my spirit. So then I've started saying, well, maybe I don't really want to lose 90 pounds and you know, long fingernails like you have and you know, but maybe I really don't want to seek that. Maybe I'm not really after Hollywood.
Right.
Maybe I just things to be simple and real. And Memphis is simple and real.
Indeed.
Quite a, quite a home here. In Nashville, and if you're in the music, you kind of under attention because there
Okay.
is so many weights in Nashville, from producers to musicians to publishers. I mean, so it's constantly on your mind. But in Memphis, you can relax. And that's what I do. I'm very laid back and relaxed. I love the music community. I support it. I love the students that I have. I support them, and I'm a happy camper. Rather have I think about the road and living in hotels and flying everywhere, and I've been through that. I've had that experience. Music allows you to travel, and I've been a lot of places. But hello, are you there? I think I've lost you.
Here I am. I
I
got
dare
lost for
not
one
hit
quick
anything.
second.
Yeah, there you are. Okay. Okay, I lost you for a minute. But yeah, this is where I love to, it's relaxed, it's casual. Don't have the tension that I had in Nashville. I never really got into the record business in Nashville because I moved to
Right.
Memphis. But so the street life was quite laid back and relaxed. But the record business, you have to really know that you want it to the extent of flying planes and living in hotels and making engagements and trying to stay on and that didn't become me at all. It just was not my ambition. And once you get my age, you kind of sit back and you say, well, I woulda, coulda, woulda, shoulda. Like that club was basically offered to me for a certain price that I could have put a first mortgage on my house, put a down payment on it. But in reality, I knew I didn't know anything about food and beverage.
Right.
Are you kidding? The hardest businesses in the world to have food and beverage. In the state of Tennessee, you have to have food to sell liquor. So when you're
Right.
going to get
Right.
into you're going to sell the bar. You got the bar, you got the and everything that goes with it. I said, no, I really, I have that ambition to uh, to buy you out and get this club and make it mine. I always go back to woulda, coulda, shoulda. Well, if I had just taken that chance, if I had had my her, if I had had the guts to at least try it, but I sort of, it's good to know what you want, what you don't want,
Right.
because will come and go, the offers will come and go, rejections will come and go, acceptances will come and go. But at that point, I knew I wasn't. There was no way I was going to run food and beverage and the
Yeah.
music. I'd be
Right.
dead by now. I'd be in the grave trying. So yeah, that I'm happy. I'm a happy camper. Um, and it would make me a lot happier if I could wing one of these songs and go natural. You never know.
Yes.
When you write, you can pretty much sell it on the internet now, and people will listen to it. They accept it. I think Justin Bieber started out with the internet. His mother
Yeah.
had him home video,
Yeah.
just a star, and he was cute and young, and got over 1 million hits on the
Right.
internet. Um, so, I think record companies look at that now. They look at the internet, see how many hits you get.
Yeah, and I guess fast forward and looking at now, you as an artist now, and looking at the easy accessibility, as far that technology has afforded artists now. Back in the day, of course, you could just show up as an artist and you had this company, you basically had this machine that you just made music for, and then they took care of the other aspects of it. And so now, one of the advantages of that, of course, that you don't have to pay a lot of people, because of course that machine came with a price. All of those people that you had working for you were on payroll, so you paid them effectively. So now you don't have those people to pay, but it puts a load on artists now. So now you do have to wear multiple hats. So now you're the artist, you your own PR person. Sometimes you can be your
Yeah.
own producer, and all of these different things. What is your take on how the industry currently exists?
I don't really know the industry. I just know, like, here's an example. You have wonderful artists with great songs. They look great. They're ready to be out, to be managed, but no, they get no invites. And then I remember Valerie June when she played pretty much on Main Street in Memphis on a flatbed truck stage.
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, and she's a great writer. She didn't hardly do any cover tunes, I don't think. But there she is playing on a flatbed truck, and somebody very important comes and hears her and listens to her and says, let's do business.
Right.
So, every night I think that everyone that plays live in the street, your street musician. I
Mhm.
loved the street musicians. Yeah, I love the improvisation and I love going in on a job and not having any clue as to what tunes you're going to do. You kind of weigh it out, looking at your audience, and then you say, try this and that and the other, and that's what I enjoyed also. And I also enjoyed the jazz. Actually, at that time, there was quite a bit. Herman Green and Fred Ford. The music enabled me to try out in theater. I was with Memphis Theater with the Billie Holiday story, so I tried the acting. I had had that. I had great parents, and they were
Mm.
at Tennessee State. Father, so Althea Gibson, the tennis player at that
Yes.
time, she taught bunch of kids tennis when she was at
Wow.
Tennessee. Ralph Boston was there at track, and the Tennessee State had a great children's theater. And my parents made sure that I was doing all of that.
Mm.
So when opportunity came to do Lady Day at the Emerson Bar and Grill at Memphis at the Theater Memphis. I was kind of ready to do it.
Right.
I knew how it is to get in character, get in costume, know your lines. I had that experience. Uh, and then so Southwestern with um, we had my first production was Ruby Wilson, Ain't
Yeah.
Misbehaving. So there was theater here to expand. There was music here to expand.
Mm.
Memphis musicians were incredible. It seems like all you do is show them the song, and you play through the song one time, and they got it.
Right.
They got it. Whereas where I came from, Nashville, people, musicians would read a lot. They
Yeah.
would read the number system. You read the paper in front of you, all the. But I come to Memphis, and you can't read in front of you because it's dark. The colors
Right.
can't. You've got so it was an eye opener, and it just captured my soul. And when I was serious disease, it really made me realize how much the city has embraced me and loved me and accepted me.
Yes.
And I'll still support. We're at Bosco's on Sunday brunch, and it's still a place that people enjoy coming and hearing our music. And it still has the bar. You always watch the bar. If there's three people in trouble in Nashville, they used to say, well, if there are three people at the bar, you got to go. You're not selling
Right.
our liquor. Selling the liquor is what it's about.
Yeah.
So learned so much here, and it seems like the music it has always been kind of based on the AABA form.
Right.
Um, there's arrangements. Of course, when Stax folded, I felt, and I talked to Deanie Parker about it once, that what we lack now because of high technology is collaborating.
Yeah.
For me and Kari to get together and write a song, and the collaboration of Stax is what I thought presented the hits, kind of created the hits. The David Porters and the Isaac Hayes, and they were all with Betty Crutcher, and they would all meet every day, all day at Stax and write songs. The same with Willie Mitchell and Teenie Hodges and Al Green. And the collaboration is what I'm afraid we're losing due to the fact that we can do our own thing. Technology has
Right.
enabled us to pass all of that.
Right.
So I talked to Deanie Parker about it, and she kind of agreed with me. She said, there is a lack of collaborating right now, um, where a group of people get together and write songs. Um, we can write them in our living room now,
Right.
in our little. So it's really wonderful to live 7 decades of music. I can remember each decade, but the bottom line on every decade of music is all about the song,
Yes.
all about the song. And so um, sometimes I forget your question because I talk so much.
Well, it was another point that I wanted to bring up and kind of just piggyback on what you just spoke of, and I would say definitely the absence of a label, especially in that format of how the Memphis music that made the city popular. As far as that collaboration effort, and I would be remiss if I didn't bring up my role with as executive director of Memphis Slim Collaboratory, because we are a nonprofit that is specifically trying to speak to that issue. We did want to give artists a home because labels don't exist in that capacity anymore. So you don't have a unified space or just a consistent space. And so, of course, Slim House, sprang up with that concept of artists being able to have that space and artists from different genres being able to, again, have this shared collaborative space where they can interact with each other, whereas they would normally won't, because everything is so isolated. You have the country music, country music artists over here, jazz artists over here, hip hop artists over here, and everyone's kind of operating within their own silos and don't really get a chance to just interface with each other. And so that's really why the organization exists. And I love doing the work that I do, because I get a chance to work with people like you, who I, have just looked up to immensely since the time that I've been, since I touched down in Memphis in the late 90s. You have been just an example, a beacon of light here in the city, as far as I always say, living out loud. And not being able, not being afraid to be who you are and live those different aspects, and really acknowledge yourself on the many levels, that we exist in. Watching you be, as an artist, and a stellar artist at that, still to this day, giving amazing performances, watching you transition into this businesswoman, who utilized your college, an educated woman who utilized your college degree, of course, to finance this life in music and do the things that you needed to do to keep yourself going as an artist. Looking at you, lean into the different business aspects. Of course, we talked about the radio. We talked about, club ownership. One of the things that we didn't really get a chance to talk about is just board service and your overall service to a lot of organizations here in the city that help guide decisions made for future artists. Not all artists during that time paved the way or decided to to give back to generations behind them, but you were one of the ones who did, and still do. You do. You continue to do that and continue to feed into the scene and continue to just again be this radiant light of positivity for not just me, but for just everyone that encounters you. So for that, I would like to say, and I think I can really speak on behalf of the music scene. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing Memphis to be here. And thank you for sharing yourself with us and sharing yourself with the world. And thank you for giving us permission, in a sense, to be great, because we got to watch you be, we get to watch you be great every single day, and just overcome, any adversity and still be amazing at what you do, and just be amazing as just being a wonderful human being. So again, thank you so much for everything. Thank you for showing up today. And again, just thank you for being you. And so I'd like to go ahead and I guess conclude this interview. Thanks to everyone who is listening. And of course, Elizabeth K. Wine, we are Memphis, the Stax Museum of American Soul Music, Jeff Collett, and all of the crew over there. Thank you so much for honoring Memphis women in music. This month, last year, despite the plans that COVID had, still continuing to honor the women in Memphis music, because so many times you hear about the men of Stax, you hear about the men of High Records, you don't hear about the women in the city that really kept this scene going. And of course, Joyce Cobb being just that, number one artist for me, that really, again, helped me be the person that I wanted to be.
Okay. Steve Lee, I was glad. Steve Lee says it's so hard to stimulate the women in playing instruments. So now he has developed women that are playing bass, they're playing trumpet,
Yes.
they're playing trombone, and so I'm glad to stimulate uh, that kind of energy in the city. Memphis nurtures, and
Yes.
I'm glad to be part of that nurturing. I look with you also with the Memphis Slim. I knew Memphis Slim, baby.
Oh,
I knew
wow.
Memphis Slim before he passed, and then I knew him after he passed. I want you to know he was buried in a golden coffin,
Wow.
a gold plated. He was definitely the Empress of Paris, of Europe,
Yes.
and we out of Memphis Slim. Plus, he wrote some hit songs. One of which is called. Um, let's see, what is it called? I
Every
can't
day
think
I
of
have the
some of
blues.
his stuff. Every day I have the blues.
Yes.
And so, he's our marker. We go from there. And Jimmy Lunsford and how he created the syncopated band and where they
Yes.
moved their bodies while they played and danced. And, it's quite a lot to jump off of. We have a lot of shoulders that because of that, the history. So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who is tuned in this evening. Please continue to support, of course, women in music and the wonderful organizations that we mentioned. And of course, I've always continue to support Miss Joyce Cobb for everything that she's doing, in the city. So again, thank you so much. And this has concluded our talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth.